7 everyday things that seem totally normal, things you most likely did today, things happening right now in millions of loving homes. But your baby's nervous system is quietly taking note of every single one, deciding whether you can be trusted or not. That is exactly what we are going to talk about in this video. Here is what makes this harder than you might think. The things most likely to break your baby's trust are not the big, obvious ones. They are not the serious parenting failures. They are the small, tired, ordinary moments that pass before you even notice them. The kind of moments you would never call a mistake because they never felt wrong at the time. If that just made something shift in your stomach, you are in exactly the right place. Before we go further, if this kind of research-based parenting content is helpful to you, please hit the like button right now and think about subscribing. It really does help this channel reach more parents who need to see this, and it only takes 2 seconds. Now, let's talk about what trust really means inside your baby's body and brain, because what I am about to share with you changed the way many researchers understand early childhood, and it will most likely change how you see the very next ordinary moment you have with your child. John Bowlby was a British psychiatrist who spent many years studying the connection between babies and the people who care for them. He described something he called a secure base. His idea was simple. Babies are wired at a survival level to stay close to a caregiver who makes them feel safe, and not just safe from physical danger, emotionally safe. When that caregiver responds to them in a steady and caring way, something powerful starts to happen. The baby begins to build what Bowlby called an internal working model of the world, a deep feeling that says something like this: I matter. Someone comes when I need them. The world is, at its heart, a place I can trust. This internal working model is not something the baby thinks about consciously. It is not a memory the way adults carry memories. It is closer to a physical expectation, quietly wired into the nervous system through thousands of repeated moments in the first year of life. Mary Ainsworth built on Bowlby's work by carefully watching real mothers and babies in the 1960s and 70s. She found that babies whose caregivers responded to their signals in a steady and caring way were more likely to grow up feeling securely attached. Importantly, she discovered it was not just how the caregiver responded that mattered. It was how reliably they responded. The baby learns again and again that when they send a signal, something happens. That reaching out brings connection. That is what trust in a baby actually is. Not a warm feeling, not a sweet idea, a biological expectation built through repetition. Here's the uncomfortable part, because the things that slowly wear down that expectation do not look dangerous at all. They look like a regular Tuesday. The first thing, being inconsistent. Picture yourself in a foreign country where you do not speak the language. You are trying to understand how things work. You watch closely. You notice that sometimes when you do one particular thing, people smile and come toward you. But other times, that same thing gets no response at all. Sometimes there is warmth. Sometimes there is silence. Sometimes there's a big, unexpected reaction you did not see coming. You cannot find any clear pattern. That is what unpredictability feels like from inside a baby's nervous system. Most parents are never told this part. Research has shown over and over that inconsistency is often harder for a baby to handle than being consistently ignored. Ainsworth's work found that babies who experienced unpredictable caregiving sometimes responded to warmly, sometimes ignored, sometimes met with a reaction that was too much, tended to develop what researchers call anxious ambivalent attachment. These babies became hyper-aware of everything. They cried more, needed more, and could never fully settle into the comfort being offered because they had learned that comfort might vanish at any moment. The baby is not looking for perfect. They are looking for a pattern they can rely on. When that pattern is steady, even if it is not flawless, the nervous system can relax. When the pattern is not steady, the body cannot afford to relax. A body that can never fully unwind is one living under ongoing stress. This is not about strict schedules or doing everything the same way every time. It is about the emotional feel of your responses being something your baby can start to predict. That is the foundation. Without it, nothing else really settles into place. The second thing, being there in body but not in mind. You know this moment. You are sitting on the floor with your baby. They are making sounds, looking into your eyes, offering you a toy, gently pulling at your sleeve. Your body is right there, but your mind is somewhere else entirely. On your phone, on a conversation from earlier that morning, on the running list in your head that never fully goes quiet. In 1975, Dr. Edward Tronick of Harvard ran what became one of the most repeated experiments in the whole field of developmental psychology. He had mothers interact with their babies normally, smiling, talking, responding to what their babies were doing. Then, on a signal, the mother made her face completely blank, still, unresponsive, not angry, just empty. What happened next was instant and impossible to ignore. The babies tried everything. Bigger smiles, reaching out, making sounds, using every small social skill they had to bring their mother's face back. When nothing worked, they did not simply give up. They turned inward. They looked away. Their small bodies drooped. Their energy went flat. Their cortisol levels, the main stress hormone, visibly rose. 3 minutes of emotional absence was enough to cause a real physical stress response. Tronick described it as the baby experiencing their mother saying hello and goodbye at exactly the same time. The body was present. The connection was gone. Researchers studying what they call emotional availability have found that being physically present but emotionally absent can be just as stressful for a baby as not being there at all. Some researchers call this proximate separation. You are in the room. You are a world away. And to your baby's nervous system, the difference may be much smaller than you would like it to be. Your baby is not simply looking at you. They are using your face as a live guide to the world. When your face is open and present, the world feels safe and knowable. When it goes quiet, even for a few minutes, they feel it in their bodies before they feel it anywhere else. The third thing, leaving them to cry without coming. There is no parenting topic more loaded with guilt and conflicting advice than this one. So let's be clear about what the evidence actually shows and honest about where things are still uncertain. Babies cry because it is the only language they have. Every cry is a reach across the space between them and the person who cares for them, carrying something they have no other way to say. I am hungry, I am overstimulated, I am scared, I am hurting, I am overwhelmed, and I cannot explain why. What developmental psychologists have found is this. The baby is not only crying to fix the immediate discomfort. With every interaction, they are learning something bigger. They are learning whether the signal works, whether the world responds. When cries are answered reliably, not instantly every time, not perfectly, but reliably, the baby starts to build the belief that they matter, that the signal works, that the world pays attention. When cries are regularly dismissed or left unanswered, something different takes shape. Research suggests the baby does not stop crying because they have learned how to calm themselves down. In many cases, they stop because they have started to stop expecting. There is a real and important difference between a baby who is calm because they feel safe and a baby who has gone quiet because they have learned that calling out does not lead anywhere. None of this means you must respond within seconds every single time, or that one delayed response causes permanent harm. What matters is the overall pattern, the overall message the nervous system is receiving. Repeated across hundreds of interactions in the first year. Does reaching out bring connection? Is this a world that responds? The answer to that question, built slowly and without anyone seeing it, becomes part of how the developing brain is wired. The fourth thing, the emotional feel of your voice. Here is something that research on infant brain development makes very clear and that most parents are never told. Researchers using a method called functional near-infrared spectroscopy, a quiet, non-invasive way of measuring brain activity, looked at how 6-month-old babies' brains responded to different tones of voice, not words, just tones, angry, neutral, and happy. They found that angry tones activated parts of the baby's brain connected to stress and emotional processing. Babies whose caregivers used harsher or more forceful voices showed stronger brain reactions when they heard angry sounds. In other words, the baby's brain was being shaped over time by the emotional temperature of the voices around it. Separate research found that babies living in homes with more parental conflict showed unusual patterns in how their brain was connected, patterns that, in some ways, looked similar to the brain patterns seen in teenagers experiencing depression. These were not babies being hurt or neglected. These were babies simply living in homes where more anger was present in the air. The part that matters most for everyday parenting is this: babies cannot understand your words yet, but they pick up on tone earlier than almost anything else. Long before they know what the words "I love you" mean, they know what it feels like to be spoken to with warmth. They know the difference between a voice that moves toward them and a voice that makes the air feel unsafe. Research confirms that babies can tell the difference between positive and negative emotional tones as young as 5 months old. This is not about never raising your voice. Parents are human. Stress is real. An occasional moment of frustration is not what the research is pointing to. What the evidence keeps coming back to is the general emotional climate of the home, the usual temperature of the voices that surround your baby. Whether the baseline is warm, calm, and safe, or sharp, unpredictable, and tense, because your baby is not just hearing your voice. They are using it to tune their developing brain to the world. Pause here for a moment. Everything so far has been about what you do. The next two things are about something more subtle, and they are the ones most parents feel the worst about. If this video has been useful to you, this is a great moment to subscribe if you have not yet. This kind of research-based parenting content takes real time and care to put together properly. And staying on this channel is how you keep learning without having to go searching for it. The fifth thing, telling them they are fine when they are not. You have done this. Every parent has. The baby gets fussy. They are not in danger. They are not hungry or hurt. They are just unsettled or overwhelmed, or feeling something big that does not have a clear cause. And in a moment of tiredness or honest disbelief that such a tiny person could feel such a large feeling, you say it. You are fine. You are okay. There is a version of this that is actually good. A calm, steady parent, softly signaling that the world is safe. That is not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is the repeated pattern of pushing away a baby's emotional signals as too much, unnecessary, or simply wrong. There's nothing to cry about. Stop being dramatic. You do not need to feel upset about that. To a baby, their inner experience is the only reality they have access to. When their body feels distress, regardless of whether you as an adult think that distress makes sense, it is completely real to them. When you keep responding to that realness with the message that it is not real, the baby is slowly learning something very specific about the gap between what they feel inside and how the outside world responds. Developmental psychologists describe one of the core needs of early childhood as attunement. The baby needs to feel that what is happening inside them is being noticed accurately and reflected back in a way that says you were seen, not just helped practically, but genuinely noticed. Feeling felt, as some researchers have described it, is one of the most basic experiences of early emotional growth. When distress is consistently dismissed, what the baby learns is not strength or toughness. What they learn is that their signals cannot be trusted, that what they feel inside does not match how the world responds to them. That learning, repeated across hundreds of interactions, does not create a strong child. It builds a child who slowly, quietly, begins to disconnect from their own emotional experience. The sixth thing, warmth that pulls away exactly when it is needed most. Babies are incredibly sensitive detectors of love that comes with conditions. They cannot name what they are picking up on, but they feel it in their bodies. Think about the difference between warmth that flows freely because things are going well, because you are in a good mood, because the baby is being easy, and warmth that shrinks or goes cool at the exact moment things get hard. When you are running on empty, when the baby will not stop crying, when you are at the very end of a long and exhausting day. Bowlby described the baby's attachment system as a detection system with one core question running underneath every behavior and every cry. Are you there? Will you be there when I need you? The moments the baby needs you most are the exact moments they are most out of control, most demanding, and hardest to be with. If your warmth reliably fades in those exact moments, the baby is learning something very specific. They are learning that love is available but not guaranteed, that comfort is possible but not reliable, that they are loved in the easy moments but unsure about the hard ones. This is not a judgment of any parent's capacity. Warmth is harder to reach when you are at your limit. That is simply true. But understanding what the baby is learning in those moments is the first step to changing the pattern. Because what they are always trying to figure out is whether your presence is real, whether it holds when things get difficult, whether the safe base actually holds when they need it most. That is the question their whole attachment system is built around answering, and the evidence it uses is what you do on the hard days, not the easy ones. The seventh thing, not coming back after a disconnect. This is the most important point in this entire video, and it may also be the most comforting thing you will hear. Disconnections happen. They happen in every family, with every parent, across every culture, and every generation. You will lose your patience. You will be too distracted. You will be too tired, too overwhelmed, too human to show up with the warmth and presence your baby deserves. The emotional absence that Tronick showed us in a laboratory happens in real living rooms, on real days, because you are not a scripted experiment. You are a person. But Tronick showed us something else too. He showed us repair. When the mother's face came back in the still face experiment, when she re-engaged, returned, reconnected, the baby came back too. Not right away, not without a little caution at first, but they came back. The relationship held. The trust, though shaken, was not broken. Tronick's own theoretical model, built over decades of research, clearly recognized that mismatch between parent and baby is normal and unavoidable. The goal was never to remove all disconnection. The goal was repair. And the research suggests that the act of repair, coming back, reconnecting, is showing the baby that the relationship survives a hard moment may be just as important to the growth of trust as almost anything else a parent does. Donald Winnicott was a British pediatrician and child psychologist who watched thousands of parents and babies across his career. He described the idea of the good enough parent long before that phrase became well known. He concluded that babies do not need perfect parents. They need parents who come back. Research drawing on Tronick's work suggests that parents and babies are truly in sync only around 20 to 30% of the time. The rest is mismatch, missed signals, missed moments, followed in healthy relationships by repair. Here's the thing that needs to really sink in. The disconnection is not the damage. Not repairing it is. Repair does not need a speech or a planned moment or the perfect words. It can be as small as walking back into the room, getting down on the floor, making eye contact, reaching toward them again, letting your face go soft after it has been hard, showing your baby in the simplest way possible that you are still there, that the break was not the end of the story. Every single time you do that, every time you find your way back, you are adding something to your baby's developing brain that builds layer by layer across hundreds of ordinary days into something that holds. You are showing them the connection breaks and then it heals, that people can be lost and then found again, that the world is a place where coming back is possible. That lesson, learned in the first year of life, becomes the pattern through which they will understand every relationship they have for the rest of their lives. Now let's bring all of this together. There is a question your baby is carrying into every ordinary moment you share. Not a question they could ever put into words. Not one they are even consciously asking. It lives underneath every cry, every reach, every time they look up at your face from across the room. The question is simply this: can I count on you? Not will you be perfect. Not will you always come right away. Not will you never feel tired or frustrated or stretched past what you have left to give. Just, will you come back? That is the question that secure attachment answers. Not through big gestures, not through perfect consistency, not through being the parent you imagined you would be before the sleepless nights made imagination feel far away, but through the buildup of thousands of small moments in which, even after the disconnection, even after the hard moment, even after the day that went nothing like you planned, you found your way back to them. Research on infant attachment suggests that early patterns are not final. They are drafts. Caregiving that gets better, even partway through the first year or after, can change the direction. A baby who has experienced inconsistency can begin to build new expectations when the pattern shifts. Repair is not a single moment. It is something you practice, and every time you practice it, something changes. 7 everyday things can damage a baby's trust, not through cruelty, not through not caring, but through the perfectly normal limits of a human parent getting through an exhausting, relentless, completely new experience without ever being taught what their baby was quietly listening for the whole time. Now you know what they are listening for. They are listening for the pattern. They are listening for your voice, not just the words, but the warmth inside them. They are listening for whether you come. They are listening for whether you return after you have been away. They are listening in the only language they have for your answer. And every time you come back, you are giving it. You are saying, in the only language they can hear, you are safe. You are seen. I am here. That is everything.